Today we're talking about cushions, and this is something that I wish I had known 17 years ago when I started making slipcovers for clients. I learned this formula trial and error. So let's talk about how to make the perfect fitting couch cushion when it comes to how big you need your foam to be, and the perfect fitting cushion cover so that your cushion is snug and plump and fills out the space that you need to fill. So if you're making a cushion, particularly if you're making a long cushion, a bench cushion, a banquette cushion, a window seat cushion, a single long couch cushion, I'm going to give you the formula for this so that you don't have to trial and error your way through the process, and you'll have a perfectly fitting, snug cushion cover with a cushion that fills up the space that you need to fill. And I'm going to give you a downloadable cheat sheet on this, so you don't have to write this down or try to remember. It's a downloadable cheat sheet that's in the description box below, so you can fill that out and I'll send that over to you. The formula for a regular sized chair cushion like this one, this is a vintage chair that I bought at a thrift store. I've got two of them, and I'm going to do a workshop on how to do this channel back or channel tufting in an upcoming workshop. So stay tuned for that. You can get on my email list and I'll let you know when that's ready. Anyway, so a cushion like this, and I'm talking about a square cushion up to 36 inches. Anything more than 36 inches, then you need to use the long cushion formula. But for a regular seat cushion like this, up to 36 inches square, this is the formula. So let's say that this chair is 20 by 20 square. It's clearly round, but just for simplicity's sake, let's say it's 20 by 20, and this is 4 inches thick. You would cut your fabric the exact same size as your cushion, so 20 by 20 by 4. And then once you wrap your foam or your cushion with a layer of Dacron, and then you make your cushion cover with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, that will be a perfect fit on your foam. Now let's suppose you don't have a cushion for your chair and you need to cut foam to fit your piece, which would be very common if you're making like a banquette seat or a window seat where there's nothing currently there. You would have to cut your own foam. So if you were cutting your own foam for this, and the opening of your chair is 20 by 20, and you want your cushion to be 4 inches thick, you would cut your foam 21 by 21 by 5 inches thick. You want your foam to be 1 inch bigger than the space that you need to fill. If you're doing a regular size cushion like this, that's not bigger than 36 by 36. Does that make sense? Let's talk about a long cushion, a banquette or a window seat. If you're making something that's bigger than 36 inches, you would need to cut your foam a 1/2 inch bigger for every foot over 36 inches. So let's say your banquette is 72 inches long by 20 inches deep and 4 inches thick. Your foam would then need to be 21 inches by 5 inches thick, and then the length, if it's 72 inches and you need a 1/2 inch per foot over 36 inches, you're automatically going to add 1 inch for a standard cushion, 36 inches, so you're going to add 1 inch there, and then a 1/2 inch from 36 to 48, a 1/2 inch from 48 to 60, a 1/2 inch from 60 to 72. So that's 1.5 inches plus your 1 inch that you normally would add. So that's 2.5 inches that you need to add to the 72 inch length of your foam. So what's that? 72. So 74.5 is what you need to cut your foam length. So I would just go ahead and make it 75. And then you know for sure that your foam is going to fill out that cover that you make, the cushion cover. Otherwise, if you were to just cut your foam the exact size of your cushion cover, you're going to put that foam in there and it's not going to plump out that cushion cover, and it's going to be baggy and loose. And I sure wish I'd have known that when I started making slipcovers, because it seemed like I did it for a long time. I cut my foam 1 inch bigger than the finished size of my cushion cover, and they were always loose. And so I always had to cut a little bit more foam and glue that onto the edge of my foam and rewrap it with Dacron. It happened for so long until I finally figured out, okay, I just need to add length to this long cushion. That's the formula for cutting your foam for a very long cushion. As far as the cover goes for the very long cushion, that formula stays the same. Let's say you have a cushion just like this, and you're going to just measure this cushion in order to make your cushion cover. Let me show you the best way to do that. So the best way to measure to make a cushion cover, so let's say maybe you've got a piece of foam and it's like this, and you need to get the proper measurements for your seat. So you would take the cover off of your foam, here's your cover, and flatten it out as much as you can. And sometimes it's not a bad idea to go ahead and press it or steam it so it is nice and flat. Then take your measuring tape and you're going to measure from the raw edge to raw edge. So I've turned this cushion cover inside out, pressed it so it's nice and flat, and then you're going to measure from raw edge to raw edge. Okay? And then same thing this direction, raw edge to raw edge. Like so. And then you're going to just cut that out square. And then you can utilize this to get the curve that you need for the front and the back. So then you can lay this onto your square piece that you cut and then lay this out, and you can get a rough curve for the back and the front of this from this piece. So that's the most accurate way, is to take the cover off and measure it inside out. Don't try to just measure from on the outside of the cushion, because you'll end up measuring the crown of the cushion, and then your cushion cover will end up being too big. And that's the important thing about cushions, is you want them to be plump, and you want the foam to push out on your cushion cover so it's nice and plump and snug. That's what makes stuffing your cushions difficult, because it's nice and snug. But also, you don't want your cushion to have wiggle room in your seat. So that's why that formula for the longer seat cushions is so important, and that's why it's so important to cut your foam bigger, 1 inch bigger than the space that you need to fill. If you would like to get the worksheet where this is written out and you can just fill it in with your numbers, you can get that download in the description box below. And if you're interested in getting on my mailing list so that I can notify you when my upholstery workshops are ready, that's also in the description box below.